Wow, it's beautiful out. This is what I've been waiting for. This summer weather, well, it's summer. This spring weather is what I've been waiting for. I'm so excited right now. We all, and I'm sure maybe not all of us, but some of us deal with like seasonal depression stuff where it really gets in your head, man. And this kind of stuff where I can have the garage doors open and not be freezing, and I can hear the birds chirping, the chickens clucking, the guineas yelling at me, and the goats in the backyard just doing their thing. So super excited about that. Welcome to the channel. My name is Jesse. This is Cars with Jesse. Before we get started, if you haven't been to the channel, make sure you like the video, subscribe. Subscribing is important, and comment if you're super excited for spring, because I'm super excited for spring. I got a bit of a, what's the word? Odd episode. I don't know. It's not a full episode because we don't have a whole lot that we're actually doing, because we're kind of at a standstill on a couple of things. Let me go ahead and walk you through those things real fast. We're kind of at a standstill here at the Datsun. We're waiting on a couple of things to come for that. I can show you the small things we did get, and this is super important to me. We did get our shift knob done. This shift knob has my dad's ashes in the top of it. If you know the story of this car, this was my dad's car. He bought it new in '75, sold it before I was born, blah, blah, blah. That story will be in a future episode. Got the new shift knob. That's super cool. I'm super excited about that. And then the Starion is pretty much ready. A couple small things. I'm waiting to hear from my friend Anthony, who does paintless dent removal, to take the car to him to smooth this out. Whoops, I'm not even looking at the part. To smooth this part out. This part had a dent in it. I pulled it out a little bit. It's still not right. I'm gonna see if he can get it looking really good before we plasti dip everything. Sunroof, I had a massive leak, which I showed before in a video. I think it's fixed. I'm gonna test that today before we do anything, because I don't ever really use my sunroof. So if it still leaks, I am just gonna fill this with silicone all the way around and say, screw it, clean it up, paint it, make it look nice. If it doesn't leak, great. I'm still gonna clean it up and paint it, and then hopefully it doesn't leak. If it does leak, I'm not too worried about it. So we're kind of at a standstill because we're waiting on our friend Roger. He has a spot that we're gonna spray this at, and we're waiting until that spot frees up. You know, they're nice enough to let us do it, so we're not in a big hurry. That's why we're waiting on this. I may today. We are gonna take this for a drive a little bit later. I have a couple of cool things that I wanna try out. Spoiler here. And so I want to try that out and get some cool footage of driving the car a little bit. So we will take it for a drive today. So I'm going to try it, starting it, seeing if the belt is making some noise still. And we're also going to start, I don't know if it'll be in the video, if it'll be a whole nother video. I'm going to make a panel for this. So we'll start that today as well. So it's not a super crazy big episode. We don't have a whole lot going on, but we are gonna talk about that. And then also, one thing I do wanna do in this video, because I keep getting asked questions, and it's not just on YouTube. I haven't honestly gotten questions on YouTube, but I keep getting asked questions just from people in general about how much it costs to build a shop like this. I would like to sit down and make a quick spot on that. So we will do that first before we get started on the other stuff. Let's go ahead and hop into that real quick, and I will give you a rundown. Okay, all right. Okay, so like I said, I get asked a decent amount of times from other people how much it costs to build a shop like this. So I kind of wanted to go through, I will overlay a couple pictures of the process, stuff like that, and kind of go through what I had done and what I had did to try to get this built for as cost effective as possible. Some of the things that still need done, and what I expect those to cost as well. There will be future videos about some of that stuff as well, so you'll follow along on that journey. The building is a 30 by 50 by 12 steel frame building. It has 12-foot ceilings. That's not at the peak. So it has a little bit more room than 12 foot. The reason that was important is because my lifts were like 12 foot 8 inches. So I needed to make sure that we had a spot for the lifts inside, or the lift inside here. So that will be getting set up eventually. The building itself was from a company called Muscle Steel Structures. They are a company out of the Carolinas. I don't remember if it's North Carolina, South Carolina. I'm not entirely sure. My overall experience with them was a mixed bag. Muscle Steel Structures was one of the cheaper, more cost-effective buildings that I had found. They had pre-made plans and they allowed me to modify the building a little bit. Deal that they were running was they were running a, I think it was a Black Friday deal or something like that. Either way, the building cost was like $13,900 or $13,500 or something like that. That came with 3 doors in the front, like 1, 2, 3, and then a man door on the, like in the front as well, but over to the side. I did not like that idea. I only needed 2 doors, and I wanted it to be symmetrical. So I wanted 2 doors and then a man door in the middle. I'll overlay a picture here of how it actually turned out, because all the renderings they sent me showed that it would have the door directly in the middle and it would be centered and everything like that. So that was the first part. I put my deposit down. I then searched for somebody to do the concrete because I needed to do it on concrete. I had a guy come out and give me a quote. He wasn't the cheapest quote, but he seemed as if he had cared the most about his work and the job that he was going to be doing, so I did choose him to do the work. Overall, the experience was good. He did some other work aside from just concrete work around here in the beginning, super great. The concrete turned out fine. He came out, we did get a quote. It ended up being a little bit more in the revised. There was a revision to the plans, and they said that my permit said that I needed 30-inch footers all the way around to go below the frost line. So we did 30-inch footers all the way around, as well as a monolithic slab on top with, I think, 8-inch, something of that nature. The total pour is like, I think 5 inches, 5 to 6 inches throughout the pour. Yeah, so it turned out great. The finish on it's great. Stuff like that. That got done. I had that booked. I contacted Muscle Steel Structures and I said, hey, this is our pour date. Can I get on the books to get my building installed? They said, we need pictures of the finished product of the pour before we can move forward with booking it. Now, this was not something that was disclosed to me. They told me as soon as I had it scheduled to contact them. Not a giant deal, kind of a bummer because I was paying rent at another shop, waiting until I could get this building built before I could move into it. Whatever, it wasn't a giant deal. We got the building done, or we got the concrete done. The contractor told me, hey, I'll come back out. Told my mother-in-law, because she was here when I wasn't here when they finished it up, but they told her, we'll be back out, we'll backfill everything. We want to give it 28 days to cure, so that if we touch it with something, we don't chip it. No big deal. So, okay. So that was the middle towards the end of March of last year. I contacted Muscle Steel Structures. I said, hey, slab is done. Let's get it on the books. They said, okay, you're on the list. And I said, okay, what's the date? They said, you're on the list. And I said, what does that mean? They're like, you're on the list. And I'm like, okay. So what that means when they tell you you're on the list is that you're penciled in. Whenever they can get to your area, they will let you know. It's kind of the way that it works. And I was kind of bummed about that. But if that's your process, that's your process. Whatever. They finally got out here. They did put it up. Now, when the guys arrived, it's kind of a mixed bag on that. They were out in my yard before anybody introduced themselves or anything. They were out there kicking my kid's soccer ball around, and they were throwing pizza at each other. And I literally had to pick up pizza when they were done. So not a big deal, but whatever. They told me they did not have a door. They had to go buy a door that night, and they just wanted to drop off the materials, and they would be back the next day to do it. They showed up on a Friday. They were going to do it on a Saturday. No big deal. Great. Came back the next morning, started the work. They finished the work so fast. It was crazy. It was like, they started, I'd say 8-ish in the morning, maybe 8:30, and they were done by like 4:30-ish. They were done. Great. Now, in the middle of it, they called me out. They said, hey, we need you to come out here to pick out where you want your door. And I said, well, okay, I just want the door in the middle. And they said, well, come out here and take a look. I said, okay. They're like, okay, we can put it in the middle, but what side of the beam do you want it on? And I said, the middle, like dead center. They said, you can't put it in dead center. It wasn't designed that way. So I was like, well, and I just started freaking out. I didn't know my options. I was like, well, I guess just put it on one of the sides. Now, this was a big bummer because I was told them I'm down to pay a little bit extra to have that in the middle. Now, it did save me money because I did 2 doors instead of 3 doors. But anyway, they put it in, doors off center, kind of a bummer. I'm not like OCD, but that part of me is like a little OCD. So like when I look out and look at the shop, I'm a little bummed because the door's offset. So I need to figure out something eventually to do to make the door not as offset looking, and to tie it together, but whatever. I wish, in hindsight, I wish I would have thought about this. I wish I would have asked them, instead of putting it on the front, if they could just put it on the side of the building and I could have the door enter through the side. That would have been ideal. But unfortunately, I didn't think about that at the time and just panicked and said, yeah, put it, we'll pick a side, I guess, because whatever. Not a giant, I mean, it is a giant deal when you're paying a lot of money for a building, but not a giant deal. Fast forward, May, June, July, I was trying to get a hold of the contractor to come back out, backfill the stuff, fill in the ruts that were left by concrete trucks. Was super patient about it, and then he kind of got mad at me because I asked him, even though I waited weeks between asking. He never came back and did the job correctly, but that does leave us where we're not completely done. We do have to get some concrete out front, not concrete, I'm gonna do gravel out front and get it graded so that I can pull in, because right now when I pull it in, sometimes the Starion, I've ripped the Starion's exhaust off several times pulling it in. So cost-wise, the original quote for the concrete was around $16,500. That wasn't including the footers. Now, I will say the concrete guy did me a solid, and he did only charge me, I think the total difference was like $3,500 or $4,000. He said that's materials. I don't know anything about it, but it seemed like a fair deal to me to only upcharge me $3,500 to $4,000 to do the 30-inch footer all the way around the building. He did that. It was like, I think $3,500, $4,000, something like that for the footer. And then the slab, $16,500. So grand total of that, it was like $16,500, $35,000. It ended up being like 20-ish, maybe 21 or something like that in total for the concrete slab. The building itself, after tax, was like just a touch over $13,000. Like I said before, the Black Friday deal they were running was like $13,500 or $13,900 or something like that. But since I did take a door off and I did a little bit of haggling. Now this is important. When you are doing this stuff, feel free to haggle some people. Find out if you can get it cheaper. Get prices elsewhere. Send them and say, hey, this place that they can do it this much, and see what you can do, because I really did save a lot of money doing that kind of stuff back and forth. Like I said, I didn't go with the cheapest concrete guy because the cheapest concrete guy seemed like he didn't care as much about my project. The other guy did, and like truly at the end of the day, aside from the stuff that he didn't finish properly and stuff like that, did a great job on the actual concrete. The building, I remember going back and forth and getting prices from other places that were running Black Friday deals, so I did get that cheaper as well. I did the same thing with windows in my house, gutters, all kinds of stuff. So I did haggle a lot. I'm a pretty good haggler. Yeah, so that puts us, we were 13, a little over 13 plus 2021. So we're at 33-ish on the building right now. With that being said, a couple of things to consider. I don't have a parking lot area. It's not graded into the building, so I do have to wait to do that. I assume, based off the prices I've gotten so far, I assume that the gravel will cost me somewhere around $1,500-ish all in. And there's a couple things, fancy things I want to do with it. The gravel, it sounds to me like the gravel will probably be in the $700 to $900 range. And then there's some stuff I want to do on top. I want to lay down some of the matting. And then I do want to put a border around it, stuff like that, maybe some railroad ties or something. Either way, that's kind of my goal. I do think that I'll probably end up in the $1,200 to $1,500 range for the gravel and grading it and stuff. The other thing is I don't have electric in the building currently. The electric that's in here is ran from my barn where the horses are at. So I have to get electric set up. So far I've bought a 200 amp electric panel, like a breaker box, and I bought a 200 amp meter socket. I'm putting 200 amp service in here so I can run the lifts, the welders and everything and never outgrow it. I assume that I am $180 deep on the breaker box and the meter socket. I assume that I'll probably have another $500 in materials just to get the power ran to the building. So $700-ish. And then I'll have to wire in the outlets and all that stuff. So I'd say another probably $500 there. I would say probably $1,200-ish in getting the electric done inside the building, which would put us in the 15, so probably 35, 36 grand total. between getting the gravel down and the electric in the building is my assumption. The other thing that I eventually want to do, I would like to spray foam inside of here for some insulation, because in the summer it gets extremely hot sometimes, and in the winter it gets extremely cold sometimes. To help offset that, I would eventually like to spray foam inside here and possibly put like a mini split or something. Without the creature comforts of the spray foam and I guess you could take the gravel out of the equation, but I'll leave it in there. But without the creature comforts of the spray foam and the mini split, I would say you'd probably be about $36,000 into a building like this. Now, I'm in Ohio, so things are a little bit cheaper than California. So I just wanted to give somebody a heads up in case you're thinking about building. I highly recommend building a building. This place has been awesome. It's allowed me to do stuff during the winter time. Muscle Seal Structures subcontracts it. They're just a company on top. I learned this as I did it. I think it's Delgado something, whatever. They are the ones who came out and built the building. You may be able to get a better deal through them. I don't know. I tried and it didn't seem to be worth it. And I just pulled the trigger with the Muscle Steel Structures. You may be able to get it a little bit cheaper if you haggle a little bit back and forth. Let's go ahead and kick into some of the other stuff that we got going on today.
Maybe it just takes time.
That's gonna be fun. Oops, I thought I was recording. I wasn't recording at all. Okay, so what we're doing right now is we're making the panel for the front of the Starion, part that will cover up where like you look down to the radiator and intercooler and stuff like that. We're gonna make the panel for that. To do so, we started making it with our CAD design, our cardboard aided design, CAD. So let me show you kind of like the trick and what I used on this, since I wasn't recording because I'm a dummy. What you do is you get your little fingers a little dirty. You just rub on some dirty stuff. Rub your tires, whatever. You take it, you fit it down as close as you can. You take and rub your finger along the edge that you want to make an edge for. Just follow it all the way. And rub it real nice, and your dirt line will also imprint on it. You'll have a dirt line, and you should have a little bit of an imprint line on it to help. That makes it way easier to make a line than it does with just trying to draw it. It's a pain in the ass, and I like art and I'm still not good at it. Yeah, so where we're at now is I went ahead, got it cut down a little bit. It's fitting in there. And then what we're doing right now is I'm going through and I marked, same design with my finger, marked where I need to start cutting holes out, like the hood bumps, like the hood stops and hood switch, like the little hood latch switch thing and all that stuff. So we're cutting those out now. When we're cutting these out, I'm just cutting them out so I know relatively where the hole's at, because when I make the hole on the metal piece that we use for this, we will drill it, and so it'll make a much nicer circle. So like the circles that you cut here, probably gonna suck. They're probably gonna look stupid, and they're not gonna be real circles. They're gonna be like little notchy looking, whatever these are, you know? Have that and that, so I know where those go. Now, what we're gonna do is, first I'm gonna look up a picture, because I don't know how like some of the people make theirs. All right, let's get to keeping, or get to, what did I say? That wasn't even English. Let's get to work. Let's do it. You know what I mean? Okay. This is kind of where we ended up at first. I'm gonna try to bring this up a little bit to follow that line the best I can, and then try to follow that, and then bring this over to here. It's kind of my thought. If I can bring it, boom, like that, I'll be happy with it. I'm gonna go ahead and try to modify that. All right, so we have our basic design. We need to run and grab some metal. There's a couple other things I need to grab as well. So let's make a little trip to pick up some of what we need and go from there. But that's our design basically. I'm pretty excited about it. It's been a long time since I made something, so I'm pretty happy with it. Yeah, let's go ahead and head out to pick up some stuff. All right, so we're back. I could not find, I was looking for a piece to cut to make the panel. I needed something about 30 something inches wide, like 34, 33. I couldn't find anything over 24. Even the 24-inch wide stuff was so expensive. It was like $60 for a little steel panel. I started looking around, I was like, God, there's gotta be something, maybe like some ABS or something. Found something. This may help you guys if you're looking for something to make something like this. Aluminum was preferred just because of the weight, obviously. So I found a kick plate. This kick plate that goes on the bottom of a door, thin, and it is aluminum right there. So this was 34 inches by 8 inches. I needed 34 by like 7.5. I was trying to find something 34 by 9. I was like, oh, probably it'll end up being like 36 by 9 most likely. But 34 inches, 8 inches, this will work. This will work good. So my other option was I was like in the front and the middle, I'll just seam it together and make it look decent. But this should be able to do it. This is like $30 at Lowe's. So whatever, kind of pricey, but oh well. I'm gonna go ahead and get to marking this out so we can make our panel. So I'm gonna mark it out here. We have our template. I'm gonna use the top straight edge as the straight edge. And then we will mark out our holes that need drilled. These little pieces here, the part across. And then from there, I will then mark out where we need holes drilled for the screws that hold it down and the push pins that hold it down. So let's go ahead and mark this out and start cutting.
What if I said I'm sorry? What if I lied? What if it's been worth it?
That thin piece of aluminum that they use for that kick panel thing works really well because I was able to cut it with 10 snips versus a cutoff wheel or something. So it does fit down in here pretty nice. Let me show you real quick. The only thing I have left to do is I'm gonna make some holes for some body clips, like the push pin style body clips to go in it to hold it down. And then I can peel off the film. It's already black, so I might leave it, or if it doesn't look good, I'll paint it. But I wanna show you where we're at because I'm gonna go in, start editing this. Don't stop. But I'm gonna start editing this because in the morning, I'm gonna try to get out early, do some driving footage to edit it, to make it in the video before the upload. So yeah, so stick tuned for that. It's gonna be pretty cool. We got the 360 cam we're gonna try out. I'm gonna mount the GoPro up front. We're gonna do a little driving footage. Maybe it'll look cool. That'll be after this, but let me show you this real quick. Don't leave because the fun part's about to begin. All right, so the little panel is made. There it is. Like I said, it's got the film on it. I'm hoping it's like more of a matte finish underneath. If not, I'll just spray it matte, like a matte black. But yeah, it covers up the front. That's what I wanted it to do. Got to make some mounting holes, push pins, good to go. Let's go ahead and hop into tomorrow with some footage. Ready, set, go.